Hey, everybody. Hopefully we're live now. And me again, the Grey Man, and I'm joined by Cuppo. Cuppo is your name, isn't it? Cuppo? Can I call you Cuppo?
You can call me Cuppo. You can just call me Cup. You don't have to.
Cup, okay. How you doing, mate?
I am excellent. It's really good to be here. I'm excited to talk to you from across the pond using this great technology.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? If everyone told me that you could do this like years ago when, first started collecting comics, that you could be talking to someone on the other side of the world about your comic books in like 40 years time or whatever it was, you'd think it was something out of a comic book, wouldn't you? Like,
right.
Science fiction. It's like, nah, that's nonsense. It's never going to happen. How long have you been doing your channel for?
So I started, I would say March. I pretty much started in March, and
wow.
It was right about the same time as the COVID hit.
Was it the COVID came and you're like, well, I've got nothing to do. I want to sit at home all day. I might as well start a channel. Is that what happened? Or?
Pretty much.
Oh,
It
cool.
was the impetus for me starting.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I was used to going to the comic shop to talk comics, and then everything was closed, so it was like I had no outlet.
Yeah.
So I made one.
So why is the channel Cup of Comics, not like Box of Comics or I don't know, Plate of Comics or?
Right. My nickname is actually Cuppy.
Oh, right.
Cup. So it just really started from my nickname, and then
cool.
a buddy of mine came up with my little logo, the Cup of Comics thing. But it really is all about like how, like when I clap or give somebody a high five, it all originates with my hand. And they say I cup my hand.
Right.
So
yeah.
I became known as Cuppy, and
right.
and then I became Cup of Comics.
So in your channel, the mean in your hand, it's a handful of comics then. And you've got a handful of comics to show us tonight as well. You're going through your comic memory. That's called a link. I have to practice those.
Yeah.
So what's the first comic you want to show off to us today? The first comic memory you want to share with us? I'll put you on full screen if you've got one to show.
Yeah. All right. So we'll start off with we'll go with my first. So this is my first ever sketch comic.
Nice.
This was done by Walt Simonson. Who?
Excellent.
Yeah, he did the pretty cool Thor run.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. And it might have gone into the 90s. But this, so I had met Walt Simonson at New York Comic Con with my buddy Eric. We had an artist friend, Ken, who was an artist in Artist Alley. And we're talking to him, and this guy with glasses, pretty skinny, just comes up and he's like, "Hey, Ken." And he starts talking to Ken, and Ken's like, "Oh, I'm doing cool." And me and Eric are like, "Hey, enjoying the con," to this guy. And he's like, "Yeah. Great time." And, when you first, well, I don't know, but when you first start doing comics, sometimes you don't put a face to the names.
Yeah, I wouldn't recognize that on anyone. Yeah.
No, so we had like a 30-minute conversation with this guy, and then he walks away. And my buddy Ken turns to us and he's like, "You guys know who that was, right?" We're like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, that was Walt Simonson." Like,
oh, no.
So,
and what did you run after? Did you run after him afterwards? Say, can you do a book for me, please?
So the funny thing was, Ken's buddy had another booth and Walt was going to be there. So we figured it out. We went back up and we're like, "Hey, good to see you again." And this time we acted like we kind of knew who he was.
Yeah.
We did. But I gave him this book, and I actually just wanted him to autograph it. I didn't expect him to do a sketch. And he's like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'll do a sketch for you." He's like, "The only thing I ask is that you make a donation to the Comic Defense Fund." And I said, "Okay." And actually, I don't even think he said he'll do a sketch. He was like, "I'll do something more than my signature." So I gave him like $5. And
wow.
he ended up doing this. And when he was done, I was like, well, now I feel like a bitchy bastard. So I pulled out, I think, like another $40. And,
wow, that's right. Yeah, that's cool. That's a very cool picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got that. I got Walt Simonson to do this for me for like $45, and he would have done it for the $5. So
yeah, well, he already had, but you obviously was impressed with the art, and it's like and the story to go with it. How long ago was that? Was that recently? Last year? This year?
This was, I believe, 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Cool.
This was 3 years ago. Last year he actually he was at the con last year, but he was there for like a day.
Right.
Barely saw him. And this year there was no New York Comic Con.
Have you been a regular Comic Con sort of attendee?
So yeah, for the last it really started in I think 9 years ago. A friend of mine, thanks Gorilla Todd. A friend of mine had another friend who was a vendor at the con, and he said, "Hey, my buddy has these vendor passes." He's like, "Do you want to go?" And about 9 years ago, I was like, iffy on the comic collecting. Like I'd read a book here or there, but hey, what's up, Tapia? I decided to go, and it set me on a whole nother level of comic collecting. And ever since then, I haven't stopped going to cons. But it was like so cool, and I got to go on the floor an hour early because I had these vendor passes. It was really an amazing experience.
So what's your main thing when you go to a con? Buying comics or getting signatures or getting sketches?
Wow. So usually my main thing is to buy a couple of con exclusives, but also to get signatures. And so usually I get a few exclusives and the signatures on the exclusives. But my main goal is just to meet the creators, really. Do you
go dressed up as Harley Quinn or?
I have not cosplayed yet. I figure maybe in the future I will. There still seems to be time to manufacture an outfit these days. So we'll see what happens.
What are you planning to go as?
I don't want to do anything too normal. So I'd have to figure that out. But I'm thinking of something along the lines of a role-playing game, like something from like a Final Fantasy or something outside of the comic book realm.
Right, so, more game oriented.
More game, cool. Yeah, more game based.
So have you got any other stories from the cons? Any, like you say, you get many signatures. Anyone who's been like really nice, or anyone conversely who's been a complete arsehole?
Yeah. So you know what? I can get to book number 2. Because this also is autographed from a con.
Right.
This is from Charles Soule. And this says, "Don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it." And that's from Charles Soule. And then Alex Maleev signed it and said, "Don't ask me for help."
That's quite funny. That's quite a trolly little thing there.
Yeah. But what I will say is Alex Maleev was the cool dude. And Charles Soule was the one who was troublesome. So I don't want to disparage either one. They were both really cool, but Charles Soule sold me a bucket of lies with that book because he told me, "Hey, this is an exclusive book, only available at my table." It was like $15, and he's like, "You can't find it anywhere else at the con." And he's like, "You know what? I'll even do a private, saying to you, and if you take it to Alex, he'll give you a private message as well." And so I was like, "All right, cool. I'll totally do it. Here's my $15." So I'm with my buddy Eric, give him the money, he signs it, whatever. We walk not even 6 feet away, and we find another table with that same book for like $6.
Oh, man.
And I was like, "You said it was an exclusive." And he's like, "I don't know. I'm sorry."
So maybe you should shop around a bit first. That's that lesson learned. Check,
exactly.
Verify before you commit.
Yeah. So lesson be learned, guys. Don't believe it's exclusive till you walk around the floor. A buddy of mine though was saying that sometimes the guys who give the books to the creators, they'll say like, "Hey, this is your exclusive, whatever," but then they'll go somewhere else with the extras and dump them off and sell them. So I did
think that might have been a possibility. Like, the creator doesn't always necessarily know that, whoever printing them up might have some extras or whatever. But at least you've got signatures and like messages on there, so that's probably worth the extra $9 anyway, I'd say.
Yeah. So it was fun. It was good. It was fun. But there's like my friends call it a blood oath I have with Charles Soule. So every time I do a video, so I do Cocktails and Comics with my buddies, we review some books, and every time he's a creator or we bring up his name, I just go Soule, and my friends go Soule, and apparently it's like a blood oath thing. We keep it going. Every time I see him, I kind of give him this eye. I walk by him and I give him the eye, and he kind of looks back like, It's kind of a running gag now.
Okay. Is he actually in on the gag, or is he just like, what's this guy doing staring at me?
The funny thing is, I'm not quite sure. He kind of does it with like a smirky kind of like look to it as well. So I think he gets the gag, but I'm not quite sure if he realizes what the gag is about.
Fair enough. So what was that book? Was that Lando? So are you a big Star Wars guy?
I wouldn't say huge Star Wars guy, but I've watched every movie, so I guess that kind of makes me a Star Wars fan. And I do read the books on occasion. Right now, I'm reading the Darth Vader series, which is pretty cool. But other than that, I haven't really been keeping up on the other Star Wars comics.
You got a favorite Star Wars character or comic or films?
It's a good question. I've always thought of myself as like a Obi-Wan kind of guy, and I know that's not a that's a pretty popular choice. I do like C-3PO. I know most people are R2-D2. I'm all about C-3PO. Manic movements.
Yeah.
So those are kind of, and I never actually had a problem with Jar Jar Binks, and I know that's going to be a big sticking point, but he was comic relief. So
that probably depends on how old you were when you saw those movies. So if you were young when you saw those movies, you probably enjoyed him more. If you're an old bugger and you're seeing him, you're like, oh, who's this twat? Yeah.
And I get that episodes 1, 2, and 3 are nowhere near 4, 5, and 6. Those guys, even watching them on, I think originally my dad had them on VHS, and he still had a VHS player. And for those of you who don't know, it's like a tape. It's like this rectangular brick goes in a machine.
It's magic. When it first turned up in my house, it was magic. It's like, how does it do it? How does it work?
Right. And I just remember watching those old movies on that, and there's just something to be said about like the magic, as you just, but not just the magic of that machine working and the movie playing, but the magic of that those films. There's just something to it.
I remember we recorded something on a black and white TV, and we took the video to another house, and it played in color, and we was like, "How does that work? That doesn't make any sense." We were just getting ready to burn it, like for witchcraft, but now we realised it was something to do with signal. But so because these books you've shown so far, the blank cover and the Star Wars, quite modern ones. Are you quite modern into collecting, or how far back do you go with your collecting?
I have some unmodern books, so most of my books are modern, but
when did you start collecting though? Rather than what's your first book you remember buying as a kid? Is that one of your comic memories you're going to share today, or is this a bonus one?
No. So I was gonna bring in a comic I had as a kid. I had my first autograph book, but that got cut the last moment. But that was my first purchase was actually Ghost Rider #1, but it was the Danny Ketch version, so it was the one from the 90s. So my first comics are all first ones I purchased were all from the 90s.
How old was you at that time, roughly?
Teenager. So I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. But I really didn't get into comics until the 90s. I think I had a couple of like Care Bear comics when I was a kid in the 80s. Maybe a Wally the Wizard, if anybody knows who I'm talking about with that one.
I bet you've got the whole run. You just don't want to admit it.
Right? Yes. As I kick them out of the way. I was a big like Ghost Rider, ASM, Amazing Spider-Man, but I was like towards the back end, like the Carnage kind of run, the 360s, Mark Bagley. Darkhawk was a thing that I read back then. Darkhawk, Sleepwalker, those were all comics. Cage, when they did Cage again, those were all comics from my era. And then there was Detective Comics, was like the big Batman book back then.
So it sounds like you're mainly Marvel in your tastes.
I am mainly Marvel, and that was because Spider-Man was really the first. That was actually the first. So my first autograph book was Ghost Rider #1, but my first ever comic book was actually the Secret Wars series that came out with that iconic Secret Wars #8 with the black Spider-Man in the black suit and all that.
Do you remember what persuaded you to buy these comics when you saw them? Had you seen a cartoon before, or is just you saw Ghost Rider with the flaming head and you were like, "Wow, I'm gonna start reading comics now"?
It was. I think it was like the '90s were an exciting period for comics. Like you'd walk outside a store, and there are. I agree, Alex Big Blue. There were like lines. Like they'd be like, "Oh, here's an autograph session," and there'd be lines going out of the store. And I just remember as a kid, like walking by, and I'd be like, "Why are these people so excited?" And then it was, you see, like I said, you see the flame, like you said, the flaming skull.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is awesome. But my first comics were actually purchased at a thrift shop. My dad went to go buy like a lamp or something, and they just had a rack with comics. And I do remember there being like Spider-Man and Friends, and they were like X-Men the Animated Series was another, but they were like they were cartoons that I remember as a kid kind of watching. And then I saw the comic and I was like, hey, Dad, can I pick up some comics? And he's like, sure. And I think they were like 75 cents, $1 a piece. Like I picked up the Spider-Man Marvel Secret Wars #8, the black costume. I think it was like $1.75 when I bought it.
That's very good. That's very good.
Yes.
If you're going to start with some comics, you might as well start with one that's going to be like worth 50 billion times more. Well, not quite that much, but yeah, it's got to appreciate the value a fair bit since you bought it then.
Yeah, but back then that wasn't, that for me anyway, that wasn't a thing. Like the internet wasn't around. You didn't have Key Collector or any of those things telling you what was.
Just your instincts. You must have had like a comic instinct, like this one's going to be worth $200 when I'm whatever.
Yeah, that one looks cool. Yeah. But actually, and I do remember though as a kid being very meticulous with my collection. So I did want to get like bags and boards and keep them nice back then.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading them and then being like, if I want to read these for a long time, I'm a hoarder in some ways. And I think it started very young as a child. And I was like, if I want to keep these for years, I have to protect them. So I actually got that book graded a while back, and I think it came back like 8.5 or something, but I read it like 20 times. So
not bad.
Yeah.
Well-thumbed copy. That's pretty decent.
Right.
Some of my old ones are like, ooh, yeah, but they're my comics, so I still love them. Even though they're kind of like wrinkly and crinkly, getting as wrinkly as me at some of my old comics.
But yeah, I do love my comics. I won't say I never sold any. I sold 2 books, but it's very hard for me to like ever detach myself from a comic. Going
back to Alex Big Blue, I've got the whole Sleepwalker run, and I'm trying to finish off my Darkwalker run as well. So yeah, I agree. They're quite cool comics, those ones.
It's pretty impressive. And then somehow Darkhawk became a big spec book this week or last week. I don't know.
Apparently, someone says a Disney Plus show coming on its way. Apparently.
Yeah, so all right, good for anybody who has plenty of Darkhawks.
Okay, so anything else you want to talk about that Lando one, or should we move on to your third comic?
Yeah, we'll move on to the third. So,
I think it's the third one. I always lose count on these. There's only 5 comics. I always lose count. Like I have to.
So this is we'll bring this one up as my third. This is Amazing Spider-Man 300. This one is it's an impressive book, but it's not. This one isn't as impressive. It's probably, if I got it graded, it's probably like a 5 or a 6. It's pretty deep. So this. Oh, that's 5 or 6 more grade than most people. A lot of people have got. You know what I mean? Right.
A lot of people have got 0, nothing grade because they haven't got the book. So that's still good to have.
But this one came along actually for it was both the memory is both dark but nice. I donate. So this was because I donated for one of our fellow YouTubers who passed away a while ago. So this was to go to the family. The money, the proceeds from this went to the family. And around the same time, I was shopping for this very comic, but I couldn't find one that was in my price range. Even the really chewed up ones were really outpriced. So it was kind of, in some way, I want to say the universe was in some way aligned there, because I do remember donating to that YouTuber so he could achieve his personal grail. And unfortunately he passed or whatever. Well, he passed, unfortunately. And so when it came time to do the benefit for him, and, they were auctioning off comics and stuff, this comic came up, and I ended up spending, it wasn't a lot, honestly. And I put out my bid, and nobody bid against me. And it's kind of like the universe knew I just wanted it. And in some ways, I feel like, if you help somebody out, you kind of
Karma.
it's comic karma, right? And so, yeah, I think personally, I got it at a really great price, and it'll always stick with me that, somehow I helped that YouTuber out twice, and in his life, in both when he was with us and when he wasn't with us, and somehow I ended up getting a book that I was chasing that I thought I would. It was one of the books I thought I'd never get, and it came my way.
So yeah, that is interesting. Like you say, but also I suppose that seeing that one would always help you to remind you of the person as well, won't it? I suppose.
Right. So and he was actually a YouTuber who really he was one of the first people who said go do it, because I was talking to him, and I was like, I'm thinking about doing it. He's like, you don't know if you can do it until you do it. Don't think about it. Just get out there and do it. And so I went and did it. And thanks to him. And like I said, it's just like you said, karma. It just feels it just feels like something in the universe was just happened that brought that book to me. The way it did.
Okay, so let's change the subject a little bit. Talk about Spider-Man. It's obviously the key thing is the first appearance of Venom.
Yeah.
But have you got a favorite Spider villain?
They're all pretty much favorites of mine. But I do enjoy Venom. But I do also enjoy. For me, I like Dr. Octopus, and I don't know why. Like, I think it's because he's smart, but he's kind of like the I want to say he's kind of like the antithesis of Spider-Man, right? Same kind of brain power, same kind of science background, whatever. But something corrupts him, and it kind of shows you like the directions you can take as a person. You can have the same kind of power, and
he's got a pinch of megalomania as well, isn't he? He's like, because he's so intelligent, he thinks he's above everybody else.
Right. And I feel like it's sometimes Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's really smart, and he could choose to view himself in the same way. I really enjoyed when they did the Superior Spider-Man run.
I've heard about that. I've got one comic that someone sent to me in a gift package or something. So I've read one comic of that because I quit on the Marvel comics in the mid-90s. So I went full DC. So a lot of the more modern stuff of Marvel, I'm not really that familiar with.
And you know what? I don't judge people for jumping off Marvel in the 90s. I mean, even their whole art team jumped and made their own label. So
that's right. Yeah.
They had some issues. But that was a really good series, I will say. Not the one that came out like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but it was like the original Dan Slott run. It was about 32 issues.
Well, they made another one today.
They did like 2 years ago. I think I think it was Christos Cage wrote it. But it was good, but it wasn't quite as good. But it's basically Doc Ock still kind of carries on the mantle as the Superior Spider-Man, but the regular Spider-Man's back at this point. But when he was Spider-Man, it was just so much fun because he had to kind of pretend he was Peter Parker, but every once in a while his megalomania, his I'm better than you attitude kind of came out, and
that must have been a bit weird with Mary Jane, wasn't it? I'm not sure if I want to know what happened there. I mean,
I think if I remember correctly, I don't quite. I think she might have gone. They were broken up at the time, and she had.
Right. Okay, so it's not quite as creepy then.
Yeah, and hashtag Jabroni Nation. But yeah, it was a really good series. He actually ends up dating this very short. She may have been a dwarf by technical terms. In the movie Marconi, I forget her first name. But he ends up dating like this other scientist in the series, and that leads to like some quirky little misadventures, I would say. But overall, it was a really cool series.
All right, while we're talking about villains, like a lot of people say, who's got the best rogues gallery, and it's all normally between Batman and Spider-Man. Who do you think's got the best rogues gallery out of them two?
Sheesh. So I want to say pound for pound, I think Spider-Man has the better rogue gallery, but I will say I think Batman has the best villain in the Joker. Like I just don't. I don't think you can. I don't think you could top the Joker. He's got his mysterious origins. He is everything that Batman doesn't want to be, and there really is only one way to stop him, and Batman refuses to do it. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. I think also thinking about Batman's rogues gallery, it's all like people with. Well, there's a few like superpowered people, but mostly they're just like street level people, but with different quirks, different like abnormalities of the brain or whatever. Whereas Spider-Man's got like super strength ones, super fast ones who can fly, ones who throw boomerangs, that kind of. Yeah.
Exploding boomerangs.
Yeah, exploding pumpkins, and he's got about 50 villains of exploding pumpkins now, and I don't know. It's
you got the Green Goblin, the Hobgoblin, the Goblin's Goblin. No.
Yeah, the Jack-o'-lantern used to be before he became Hobgoblin, but I think someone else took over as Jack-o'-lantern, didn't they? Afterwards. Anyway, okay. Anything else to say on that third comic on that Venom one?
No, it is my favorite Spider-Man book ever, though.
Right.
Like Todd McFarlane is really one of my favorite. Like, I'm a child of the 90s. So
how many homages has that cover had now?
You can't count them. I'm sure there's a database out there somewhere.
Yeah, I think they've got to stop now. I think next time there's another homage, people should just refuse to buy it. So until people learn the lesson. We've had enough now.
There's at least one a week. Like it comes out all the time.
It's probably got to be the most homaged cover, surely. I can't imagine there's another one that's got as much sort of replication.
I agree. I don't think there's anything out there that comes close.
Okay, we're on number 5 now.
We're on number 4.
Oh, number 4. Okay, so I told you I need to ask the person who I'm talking to every time. I need to get like a piece of paper and a pencil so I can do a little 5-bar gate so I don't run out of. Yeah. So number 4 then. What's number 4? Okay.
This is so there is a second autograph. I don't know if you can see it. It's Frank Miller's here.
Okay.
That's Frank Miller. This is Todd McFarlane. This is from the first con I ever went to, and this is my first signature ever. And this was like the second day or the third day I got it. But this was the first book that I got autographed at a con. And then back here is like the original ticket I got for Legendary Studios. And this was Holy Terror that came out at the time. It's 2011 was one of the first was the first con I believe I went to.
What's Holy Terror?
It was a Frank Miller book, not really worth discussing in too much detail, but it came out around the same time.
Pretty sure there's a thrash band called Holy Terror as well from back in the 80s, I think. I need to look it up now.
So what's funny about this book though, right, is when I first went to my first con, I didn't know what to do. So I got in and my friend was like, go run free. And I was like, okay. And I was like, what do I do? So they had like the movie booth. So this was the Legendary booth. And I think they were promoting the 300 at the time or something. And
the book 300, the Spartans.
Yeah, well, they did the comic and the movie was coming out on whatever.
Yeah.
And, so I go to the Legendary booth and I'm there and I think they were giving out free T-shirts. And I see on one of their TVs it says signing Frank Miller, but it felt like a split second and then disappeared. And it goes through all this other stuff and they're doing trailers and everything. So I walk up to one of the people at the booth and I go, hey, I saw a Frank Miller autograph thing. I was like, how do I do that? And the guy gets like real quiet and he's like, you got to go see Mary. And that's all he says. And I'm like staring at him. I'm like,
who the hell's Mary?
Yeah, who's Mary? And he goes, oh, and he like does this head thing. And there's like one lady at the corner of the booth. She's wearing like sunglasses and she's just like looking back and forth. And I'm like, all right. So I walk up to her and I go, hey, are you Mary? I would like a Frank Miller. And before like I finish, she like flicks that ticket like out of her back pocket, just hands it to me. And she's like, have a good day. And like walks away. And I was like, all right, cool. So I get the ticket. It said, it allows you to come, first serve, come to the booth between 4:30 and 5:30. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. I was like, Frank Miller, my first ever con. I get to meet the man, the myth, the legend, whatever. So I'm all excited and I go to tell my friends and they're like, oh, that's awesome. They're like, who do I go see? And I'm like, you got to go see Mary. And they did the same thing. They're like, yeah, who's Mary? So I'm like, you got to go to the legendary booth. Lady wearing sunglasses, she'll give you a ticket. So the whole time we're a con. Now I didn't have this book when I got that, so now I have to go run to all the comic book vendors, and I'm looking, and I found that book. It was like $4 or $5. I was like, awesome. I buy it. We go to wait online. I think we got there around 3:30, and the way con lines start, they definitely start an hour early, and they start to wrap.
Yeah, how do you manage to get all them people signed within an hour? Yeah.
So we line up. Somehow I think we were like 40th online or whatever. But people are like, don't expect to get his autograph. He's very cantankerous. Sometimes he's very curmudgeon. You know, he gets angry. I'm like, okay. So I'm expecting the worst. So the line actually moves pretty quickly. He's autographing. Thanks. Gets to me. And he looks up and he smiles and he's like, hey, how's your day going? You having a good day? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, I'm having an excellent day. I was like, thank you. And he like signs the book and he's like, here. He's like, enjoy your con. And I'm like, what the heck were you guys talking about? Like, he's the nicest guy I've ever met.
3 minutes later, he's punching someone out probably. As he walked off.
Yeah. Little did I know he's bipolar. No, but
maybe.
Yeah, but no, he was very nice to me. There are lots of stories of him being an angry man, but he's very cool. Actually, I met him another time at con, and he signed a poster. It was like, and I had a Walking Dead book or poster. I had a book poster with me, and he's like, "Oh, Walking Dead." He's like, "I'd love to be on their talk show, The Talking Dead." And I was like, "Yeah, you should." I was like, "You have an agent, right?" I don't see why you couldn't get on the show. Yeah. But every time I've met him, he's been very nice. But I guess it's maybe the persona he has. He does wear dark clothing, has like that, the hat over his eyes. I think it's just a persona thing, or maybe like the people who are his handlers. He's not very nice to, but I've never had an issue with Frank Miller. Very nice guy.
There's still time now. There's still time. Now you've said that you might have disrupted the comic karma in the other way. Next time you see him, he's going to rip your book in half and throw it in your face. Get out of here!
Get out! Get on the road. But yeah. And then Todd McFarlane. That was the con that I got my buddy's vendor pass.
All right. So the Todd signature sticks out a heck of a lot more than the. Let me put it on full screen again because you barely see you can sort of see a little bit of Frank Miller squiggle in the lightning. Yeah.
So he signed black on a black book. So. Yeah. Todd, if you ever get Todd McFarlane's signature, he lines up and he has pens every color, so he's ready. He's ready. Yeah. So Todd knows what he's doing, and Frank's just like here next. But
I've been to one con in my life, and I'm a bit shy. I wouldn't go up to people and say, "Can you sign this for me?" So I've never got anything signed. The only thing I've got signed is like I bought something off someone's website, Tom Mandrake, and he signed like a mini series called Freaks. It's all signed along the top, and I was like, "Oh yeah," I really like his art as well. So they're kind of like treasured possessions.
I would say for me that was my biggest obstacle when I went to cons, was just overcoming. Fear of going up to random strangers and being like, can you sign this book? I've actually gone up to assistants and I'm like, hey, can you sign the book? And they're like, sorry, so-and-so's not here. I'm just their assistant. When they get back. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And then Then you go on like Google or something, and you like look them up, and you're like, oh yeah, totally not
like. Yeah, it could be awkward. So that's the kind of interaction that would make me like want the earth to swallow me up, and I'm like, oh, So I kind of stick away from talking to people in real life. I don't mind doing it online, but in real life, I don't like talking to people.
It's like a barrier or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
But
you're only tiny, a little tiny fellow on the screen when I do it like this.
I can crush you.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, most of the artists are really nice. Occasionally, you'll meet some who are like, you're, like you feel like you're interrupting them.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they're like, some of them are totally cool, and they're like, oh, please, please come here, please talk to me, please, give me something else to do. And so, there's been times I've met them, and they're like eating a sandwich, and they're like, go away. And it's been they're in the middle of like a commission, and they're going, and they look up, and they're like, oh, hi, give me a break, please talk to me. I don't want to be drunk.
At the end of the day, they're just human beings like everybody else, and they'll have good days and bad days, and good time to go and talk to them, and good time not to, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And some of them just have better days, and some of them.
Yeah. So I've forgotten again already. Was that your 5th book, or was that your 4th book?
No, we have number 5.
We have number 5 to go, right? Cool. Let's move. Unless you've got anything else to say about that last one, we'll move on to number 5.
Yeah. We'll move on to number 5. And this is another book. I guess I have a theme here going, but I got this one from Khan. I did a video on it recently, but this is my Amazing Spider-Man number 700, and this is my Stan Lee autograph. This is my only Stan Lee.
Yeah.
In my collection. Now, unfortunately, CBCS.
That's right. I remember the video. Yeah, I was looking at that, but I'm sure I remember that from somewhere. Yeah.
They didn't agree that it was signed, but I will say that they have contacted me. They asked for pictures of the book, and they're in the middle of investigating it. So we'll see what happens. But to me, I know what this book means, and so this is my Stan Lee autograph book, and this was the time I got to meet Stan Lee. Granted, it was literally for 15 seconds, and security had to rip me away from him. But
you say, "Oh, Stan!"
I totally fanboyed out.
Yeah,
I had like the worst smartphone at the time. I did one of these things. They were like no pictures. I somehow managed to click a picture. It's really blurry. Someday, if I can actually ever find it, I'll put it up somewhere, Instagram or something. But I remember meeting him, and this was like the 3rd con I think I ever went to, 3rd convention. The first 2 I had gone to, and I tried to meet him for free, and it was always a mob, and it was almost impossible to get to him every time I did that. So the 3rd con I went to, there was a booth. I think it was Pow, which was whoever he's working with at the time. They were basically selling his autograph, first come, first serve. I think it was $70 to get his autograph. And at this point, I think Stan was in his 90s, so he was like 91 or 92. And me and my buddy Eric basically looked at each other and go, "If we don't do it now, it may never."
Yes.
So we usually had a big, strict, we don't pay for autographs at all kind of thing, which I don't blame some of the artists for wanting to charge. They got to make a living too. But we were at that time not into really paying for autographs. It could have been $1, and most of the time we're like, no. A couple of times maybe if it was for donations, we do it, but otherwise, usually we stayed away. So this time we said, you know what? For all the time, it's time to pony up. So
70 for one signature, was it?
Yeah, just
70 per,
It was one signature, no photos, and you were really not even supposed to talk to him. That was his handlers speaking.
Yeah.
He was like, "How's your day going?" Da da da. And as he's talking to you, somebody would be like, "All right, we got to get the next person," and they do this, and I was literally like, "Oh, I'm doing awesome. Huge fan, love you, watch the cartoons, love the movies." And this guy, he's like huge arms. He's got the shaved bald head, chest is out here, and he's like, "You huh, yoink.
Wedged you away like that, picked you up by your pants, and
Yeah, carried me away.
Yeah. Oh dear,
But
it's kind of kind
it
of
was the
sad,
way.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of the life, I think they just tried to get out as many signatures
Yeah.
of him, and but he was very gracious. Always smiled. Never made you feel less than. If anything, he made you feel more than. So in like those 15 seconds I met him, he was like, I was like, I'm a big fan, and he was like, no, you're the fans. Like, he's like, you guys are the ones who make us fans, the creators. And he's like, don't thank me. He's like, I need to thank you. Kind of like in like the 10 seconds I met him, like, and I'm just paraphrasing what he said, but like, he said something that was almost like profound. I don't know.
It probably sounded profound anyway, because the word came from his mouth, you probably put whatever meaning into it you want, I suppose.
Right. He could have been like, I'm hungry, and I was like, you are really hungry for the next Spider-Man.
Exactly. Like, you got to be hungry in life to get things done.
Yeah. So, but that was one of the moments in my life that I just remember feeling like a kid. Like I was like fanboying, and I was like, yeah, like even as the guy was carrying me away, I'm like, Stanley, like, trying to.
That kind of makes it more galling, though, the fact that you was there, it happened, you paid for the signature, and they've not recognised it as being what it is.
Right?
Has it been marked down? Because it's a 9.5, though I think the 9 might be attached later in life. But has it been marked down because they say it's got a signature on it, which is not like, is it the fact it's got a signature count against the grade?
Yeah, so it's actually a 7.5. Yeah, there's no like spine ticks. It does say there's in the notes, it did say there was some scuffing. I can't see that through the, and I don't know if the scuffing just means the
right. So it'll be a 7.5 even if the signature wasn't there, kind of thing. It's not the signature's not putting the grade down, is it?
No, they did put this the grade. The grade does mark against it, according to them, because it is
just scribble as far as they're concerned. It's not a signature.
But what's really weird is so like CGC will just say autograph on cover. And they kind of give you a certified grade. They don't give you like the book would be if you didn't have this.
Yeah.
This they downgraded, so they didn't give me like a certified. Like if this was missing, the grade would be higher, but they didn't say what that would be. But also CGC just says autograph on cover or writing on cover. They don't actually tell you who it is. I don't know if you guys can see it, but CBCS in quotation marks puts Stanley's signature unverified. Right. So they actually do say that, Stanley signed it. It's just they didn't verify that it's a Stanley signature. So
I suppose they weren't, because that's the one you sent it to was one that should be able to like check it and say it's definitely him, shouldn't they? It certainly looks like quite a lot of Stanley signatures I've seen before in the past. Yeah. So wondering why they don't think it is.
And I don't know. That's their system. So who knows? So they did contact me though. So we are doing emails. They asked me for some pictures of the book, so they have the pictures. So I don't know what they're going to do with the pictures, but they'll get back to me. And
so the story's not over yet on that one. It might come back eventually as like a 9 point whatever with signature verified.
Yeah, who knows? And at that point, it'll be a happy ending for the book.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm still happy to have it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
For me.
Okay, mate. It's getting late here for me. We've done 5 now. We've definitely done 5. I'm sure that was definitely the 5th one.
I'm like, no, that's only 2.
I'm definitely losing the plot. Okay, well, you can always come back another time and show another 5 books in the future. This is the beauty of this. People could come back,
Yeah, and you know what? Since you asked, next time I come on, because I do want to come back, I'll do 5 that are like from the Bronze Age or something.
Yeah, whatever as long as you've got memories to go with them or something to say about them, that's all cool. And if you if you ever want to come on my Cover Slingers show that we do on Saturdays, we're looking for people to do Cover Slingers with us as well at some point.
All right.
So if you ever fancy that, drop us a line on IG.
Yeah. All right. I'll check it out and see what when I have a Saturday.
Yeah. Have you got anything coming up you want to share with people before we go?
Yeah. So tonight I'll be doing the previews. I was actually working on it right before I came on. So I do previews of comics that are coming out during the week. So I'll be doing that. And I usually focus on the ones that I'm biased, the ones I like.
Yeah.
And it's not always they're not always spec books, and they're not always like the cream of the crop. It's a little bit of everything, I'd say. I sprinkle in like, oh, this book I saw somebody was picking on. This book has a really cool cover by a really cool artist, and sometimes it's like this is a story I've been following since issue 1.
Yeah,
and that's good. And, tomorrow I'll do my usual what's in the box, and then Thursday I'll share my comic haul from the week.
Okay, cool.
What we got?
So when your comic haul, is it mainly like your weekly haul, your weekly like regular books? It's not like do you get a few back issues every week as well, or is it just
For most part, it is that week's haul. So it's like Tuesday or Monday is like, here's what I'm looking at, and then Thursday it's like, here's what I actually got. So,
right? Okay, yeah, cool.
Sometimes it isn't, but I will occasionally go in the back bin, especially if a place has see you later, GP Venom. Especially if it's stuff that if my comic shop has like a sale or something, I'll hit up the back issue bin and be like, here's part of that haul. So
cool.
Or stuff I order in the mail sometimes comes in too, and I'm like, hey, check this out. So
yeah. Okay, mate.
Modern stuff, but yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, cheers for coming on. It's good to sort of talk to people for the first time. Like obviously talking in the comments, like when I watch the video or whatever, but to talk in person is much cool, and to get people's stories. Yeah,
it's a little different than on the keyboard.
Yeah,
it's totally cool, and it's awesome, and hopefully it's not too late for you over there. For me,
it's nearly 10 o'clock. I've got my dinner on.
Go eat dinner. That's what I'm going to do right after this too, is eat dinner, but it's a little earlier for me.
Right. All right, cheers for coming on, mate, and thanks for everyone for watching. Anyone else wants to come on and do some comic memories with me, just drop me a line on IG, and particularly if you want to come on Cover Slingers, I need people for Cover Slingers every week. All right, bye everyone.
Bye everyone.